PayPal accidentally minted $300 trillion on chain, which is crazy because I couldn't even get them to Venmo me 20 for lunch. But more on that in a second. Welcome to Cryptocurrents, the weekly podcast of people working in crypto, talking about everything you need to know in crypto, tech, and blockchain. No FOMO, no shilling, just everything you need to know to be better at crypto. Think of us like the perfect airport lounge to which only you are a member. You come in, everything's free, it's tasty, and hey, we might even get you drunk at 7 a.m. I'm your host, Vince, and today I'm joined by our resident degen Kale from the Encrypt team.
What's up?
And Katya from the Mew team.
Sadly not drunk, even at 3 p.m.
Rough day. Rough
Get
day.
it together.
It just didn't start out right, and that's it.
I mean, let's talk about not starting out right, and we'll come to PayPal in a bit, but I want to talk about AWS. So now this was insane. This week, as we're recording on the 22nd of October. This week, AWS East saw a outage of, I want to say, 32 hours, and it just left the internet in shambles, which was crazy. And it really highlighted a lot of the underpinnings of the tech world, how much people have outsourced to this service. And it brought down a lot of quote unquote decentralized projects, which really, again, highlighted that maybe we're not as decentralized as we like to think we are. But Katya, talk to me about this outage. Not only your experience, but for the broader crypto and tech ecosystem of it all.
Well, actually, I wasn't affected by it somehow, even though I'm on the East Coast. I don't know. Maybe I missed the specific time frame, but this isn't the first time that there's been an outage. Maybe it was a longer one than there was previously, because I remember, I've been at News since 2018, and I remember this issue coming out not even once before, specifically where a centralized service like AWS goes down, and then crypto services and providers also go down, and everybody starts screaming but you say you're decentralized, but you say, we're all, and so this conversation comes up all the time. And of course, it's really easy between these episodes to kind of forget about it again and be and become complacent again, as we all do, about things that, convenience, we give up privacy for convenience, we give up all of that stuff. So there's no question, it is a real issue. And those people who come out saying every time you say, well, but blockchain doesn't go down. Well, if the services that you use to access the blockchain are down, then for all intents and purposes, it doesn't matter if the blockchain is still technically up.
Mm-hmm.
Because the computers that support the public blockchains, the miners or the staker, all of those nodes, are not all down at the same time. So something is still running, so the blockchain is still up. But if where you are, all of the services you use to access the blockchain and to move your assets on the blockchain are down, then for you, the blockchain essentially is down. And it's the same argument that people use, when people say, oh, when everything, when the zombies come and everything gets destroyed in the end of the world, and the banks, everything is going to be gone, but Bitcoin will be there. And then people are like, and what if there's no electricity? So there will be no Bitcoin. All of those are valid arguments. They're true. But the thing is that when people start screaming and kind of being sarcastic about it and whatever, what people forget is that if in decentralization, the big part of it is that each individual has more responsibility to upkeep decentralization. That's the whole dichotomy that we are working with here ever since the beginning of crypto, ever since the beginning of humankind.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the thing with self-custody wallets. When people say this is too hard, yes, it can be, but that's the part where you take responsibility unto yourself. And decentralization can only happen where more people are willing to run nodes. And as much as we make fun of Kale for a node in every home, that's what it takes. That's what it is. And it could be, blockchain could have a decentralized infrastructure, but it would take many more people to be conscious of it, to do the work, to run nodes, to I remember that it became possible to, there was this like an IPFS type of thing. Like I forget the technical part, but there were services for running decentralized like web infrastructure. Like they
Hmm.
started years ago, like in 2019, 2020. I remember publishing articles about like how you could put a website on a decentralized like infrastructure, so like your website would not be on WAW. These tools were available. Of course they were like technical, but like available. Nobody cared. Nobody
Yeah.
still cares. They only care when it goes down and they're like, oh, when we say we're decentralized, well, you like, it's like that poster with like Uncle Sam wants you. You have to do the work, and your neighbor and your friend and all of your colleagues and everybody, if you want it to be truly decentralized.
It's
That
funny,
ain't
like
never going to happen.
you do the work. I know for a fact there were probably dozens of like IT departments that probably got fired because they're like people IT, like the IT guy at like a 40-person company just put everything on AWS and just does
Yeah.
nothing. And then the CEO's like, why isn't anything working? He's like, I can't do anything. I'm just waiting for Amazon. I just press F5 until it fixes. And they're like, why do you have a job? You're out of here. But Kale, talk to me about your feelings on AWS.
Dude, it's crazy because I feel like Katya literally just stole the soapbox from under my feet. I was gonna say the same exact thing, like with the whole like we need you, like because no, like I feel exactly the same way. It's like, well, first of all, like I was reading on Twitter that like Bitcoin wasn't affected. I don't know if that's like true or not because I'm not like super active on Bitcoin. But
Well, what do you mean affected?
well, like Bitcoin wasn't down in the same way that other chains were down is what people were making it sound like on Twitter. But like I said, like I don't know like the specifics of it. Maybe I don't. Maybe they were just being maxis about it. But anyway, um, yeah, I do think that ultimately, every time something like this happens, the crypto haters are going to come out of the woodworks. They're going to be dunking on crypto, talking about like, oh yeah, you guys pretend to be decentralized. You're not decentralized, blah, 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 blah. Like and they're right. You know, if we claim to be a decentralized system and then Amazon web services go down and then nothing works, it's like, we're not decentralized. So ultimately, if we want to claim decentralization, we need to have people running nodes. And especially on Ethereum, it's like, the Ethereum devs have made it so that users like random little guppies like me, it's not super expensive relative to other chains to run a node. Like I could run a Raspberry Pi node on Ethereum for like $100 to $200.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, obviously not everybody can just throw away 100 or spend $100 to $200 on a node. But yeah, I do feel like that's the direction we need to start moving, especially if we're going to be like, oh yeah, we're decentralized and that whole shebang. So yeah, like obviously the AWS attack was like, or not attack, but like when it
Well, they
went
haven't
down.
said exactly what it was.
True.
So
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think that they're over here protecting the shareholders right now.
true. Yeah, no, like I was just gonna say, like obviously these outages will continue to happen, and I think that it will, like it takes days like these for people like me to be like, "Oh, maybe I should run a node."
Time to run a node.
Yeah.
I think
So
you said something that like really resonated with me when you said, it's things like these that make the crypto haters come out of the woodwork. And you're right. Like I saw a lot of funny crypto hater tweets where people are like,
yeah,
hey, look at your NFTs. There's no photo displayed
yeah,
because it's
yeah,
on
yeah, yeah.
AWS. All you have is a receipt. Where's your dumb monkey? And I was like, oh yeah, that is true.
Good
But
point.
which does kind of make me feel like we're onto something at the end of the day, when they're
But
waiting for us to misstep and then people are like, yeah, get them.
True.
But also, you know what it made me think of now? You know, we're in the midst of this like whole TradFi waking up to crypto and stables and all of that stuff. And now I'm thinking maybe these bigger players who are now like who have embraced this idea that what if you could make stocks available to everybody in the world on chain, all of that, you know? So they're kind of like learning about it and understanding the value and finally like doing something about it. Maybe now somebody out there who's like an actual powerful player is going to be like, well, what if everything goes down, but I have something that doesn't go down and I sell all the stock in those 32 hours. So maybe this is actually, now that the blockchain technology and decentralized technologies are more and more in the public eye, maybe some Trump or Elon Musk or whatever, or one of those guys is going to be like, I got to build an alternative.
Mhm.
And more of them are going to be like, I got to build an alternative. So everything else goes down and my thing is still up. So maybe it'll be an encouragement to diversification, or maybe that's just me being like idealistic and delusional, but like, I don't know.
I mean,
No,
I
we
think
need
you're right.
optimists.
Yeah, there could be an opportunity here, and I hope you're right. I mean, monopolies are never great for innovation or prices, so it would be cool to see things, adding more players. Speaking of adding more players, Ethereum just announced that they are the #1 ecosystem for adding new developers in 2025, according to a recent study, which I think is super rad. For me, it's always fascinating to see a lot of these new chains, because we do work with a lot of like new and emerging chains, all like clamoring to try and get developers, and yet we continue to just see more and more people piling into Ethereum, which is great to see, because that's how we get more innovation, that's how we get more cool things being built on chain. Kale, talk to me about Ethereum and adding all these developers, all of these smart people.
I mean, I love to see it. We need more smart people, less degen traders like me.
You're out. You're fired.
We had our time. Yeah, I mean, no, I'm just playing, obviously, but yeah, it's cool to see Ethereum still like the dominant force. What was like really interesting though is that Polkadot was in the top 10 of active developers, but not in the top 10 of new developers. So I mean, I don't know what Polkadot's doing, but I mean, they're doing something.
They
like
just did a 21
okay,
billion cap.
Did they really? No way.
Yeah, you
Polkadot
didn't
did?
see that?
No, I
Yeah,
didn't.
they just introduced. They said that there was going to be the 21 billion cap on Polkadot. That's the new thing.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, they're still doing stuff on Polkadot, but
for sure.
I mean, they're not attracting new devs, which I thought was intriguing.
It's probably also hard to qualify with all the substrate chains. Like, you probably get a bunch of people doing a bunch of interesting things and not necessarily leaving, but it's also hard, like, how are you surveying the new developers coming in, right? And are you getting all the substrate chains?
As opposed to EVM, where it like makes it easy.
Yeah, for sure. But Katya, you've been in the Ethereum space the longest out of all of us. Talk to me about the ebb and flow of the smart people. Is this a good thing for Ethereum?
Well, so just to clarify, this data that they showed, but in Ethereum, they include also all the roll-up L2s. So like, I guess like Arbitrum, so that's under one area. And yeah, and I thought it was interesting that, so both for the new developers in 2025 and for active developers in 2025, which, the difference is like new are the ones who ever made a first commit ever in 2025, and the active are that made any commit at all in 2025 so far. So Ethereum is first for both, and Solana is second for both. And Bitcoin is third for both. And I don't have anything to compare to. Like, I haven't found data from the same source from like previous years. But we've talked about Bitcoin like doing like the EVM compatibility, and their like the BRC 2.0, like they are increasing the efforts to become more like an EVM, more like a full machine to do DeFi. And there's a lot of controversy around that, which is a whole separate conversation, obviously, whether, it might negatively impact the community, the price, etc. But I feel like that's a sign of developers like onboarding that motion, to make Bitcoin more DeFi, more like compatible with stuff. And I think what they're trying to do is to achieve what Ethereum has, is like, what do they call? What's the word? Vince, you like this word? Was like flywheel or whatever the effect?
A network effect?
Well, yeah.
I had a boss yell at me once for using the term flywheel, so.
Yeah. So yeah, let's go with network effects, because Ethereum, because of the compatibility and composability of EVM stuff, it really helps because anybody can come in and build, and then it can spread to the other L2 chains, and it just works across things. And so that's a whole, and Bitcoin has never enjoyed that effect because it didn't have a language that would be compatible with things. And so it wasn't really compatible with a lot of what was being built in the space. And I think that's coming up now. So seeing it in third place was interesting to me because, like, I think 5 years ago, if we saw that, we were like, what are they developing?
Yeah.
It's been the same thing for like 20 years, but something is happening. But Ethereum, I have no doubt it's going to keep on leading because of that network effect. Like, you can't catch it now. The network effect is tremendous for DeFi and for all of that stuff. So unless something, I don't know, awful happens, which I'm knocking on wood, but like some kind of black swan event, I think Ethereum will just keep on leading for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I hope that it continues to spur innovation beyond just the DeFi of it all. I feel like crypto is due for a non, kind of purely economic action and interesting development that's not just like number go up, money goes here, money goes there. That's about it. Speaking of
Yeah.
money going here and there, let's talk about Coinbase, shall we? Coinbase is spending a lot of money. A lot of money on a podcast. Why not this podcast? Coinbase, we'll take the sponsorship. And it won't be for $25 million.
Hit us up.
Exactly. So talk to me about this, and talk to me about their acquisition of what is it? Echo? Yeah, Echo, which is going to, in theory, from what I've read, kind of maybe bring back the ICO boom type thing, or more of a ICO driven narrative. So talk to me about how Coinbase is spending their money, clearly not on employee bonuses. Katya?
So it's my understanding that now many people are viewing this like as a genius marketing play,
Mm-hmm.
that they were planning to acquire Echo anyway. And the podcast is by the founder of Echo. And he minted this NFT a while ago. He was done, tired, whatever, of his podcast. I think it was sponsored by FTX. So he was a little traumatized.
Rightfully so.
Rightfully so, right. And so he was like, if, somebody ever buys and burns this NFT, then I will restart the podcast. And I think it was trading like the highest was like around 20K by the time this happened. And first they bought the NFT and burned it to restart the podcast, and then they announced the deal. So of course everyone is saying, and I agree, this makes sense, that like the 25 million was factored into the deal, so like,
Yeah.
but it was a fun marketing kind of play, especially for such like an institutional player like Coinbase, like doing this kind of funky, very personal kind of thing. So I think it's just a fun exit. But the ICO thing is interesting because there are other signs. Like there's this Mega ETH project that's doing an ICO. It's attracting a lot of attention. Like it's like in the news all on its own. And I think that like given that and this and some other things, the ICO resurgence is for real. I do think that it's probably going to be more kind of regulated, for lack of a better word,
Yeah.
now than it was, because I remember in 2017-18 it was just like these random websites that were just giving you like the inside info and whatever, and then like MyEtherWallet was one of like maybe the only wallet where you could hold all of these ERC20, because nobody was going to support them. Nobody could keep up, like, and nobody was going to list that all of them. So they were just like these like ERC20s floating around in the universe. So hopefully, I think it's going to be different this time, but it's definitely back.
Yeah. Gail? I know you have some strong opinions about both of these things. Lay it on me.
I'm super excited. So for those unaware, the person that is the founder of Echo, who built Echo, and who's also, I guess, the founder, like co-founder of his podcast, his name is Kobe. He's one of the OG crypto influencers. He's been here since like 2012 and has just stuck around and has gained more and more clout every cycle. So he's, in my eyes, he's like one of the good ones because he's like still here. He's still doing cool shit, as opposed to like a lot of people that, they make their bag and they run off, or they create an exchange that blows up like SBF, or they hack or they scam their users. Like there's so many things that you can do once you become like rich and powerful or whatever, but Kobe has over time proven to be a dope influence on the crypto space. He helped found Lido Finance. So yeah, overall it was super cool to see. I thought it was really funny to see like the whole Twitter thing, or the whole podcast thing unfold on Twitter. Because yeah, people have been begging for Up Only. The name of the podcast is Up Only. People have been begging for it to come back for years, literal years, since like 2022.
I thought it was funny and relatable when like he also said, he's like, well, when I started this, I was in my 20s and now I have gray hair. He's like, I'm going to spend the 25 million for some cosmetic surgery and I'll be with you in a minute. Just
yeah, he said he's going to rename it
I
to
feel
Unk
some
Only.
mornings before the podcast is.
But yeah, no, the podcast was really dope. I used to watch it when it was a thing last cycle. They had they had like Do Kwon and Suzu and SBF and Martin Shkreli. They had like crazy guests appear on the podcast. So it was very, very, very entertaining. And yeah, I'm excited for it to come back. Apparently, now that Coinbase bought and burned the $25 million NFT, Kobe and Ledger are doing 8 episodes. But a man can dream, and I'm praying, I'm hoping and
More
praying
than
that.
that.
Yeah, dude, because Up Only was dope.
Yeah. It's funny, like talking about Coinbase and how Katya framed it in the marketing of it all. I have yet to see the Coinbase on Liquid Death that they bought on eBay last year. Do you guys remember that? When they bought their rights to be on Liquid Death. I have yet to see that. But it was all in the news that they did buy it, but I never saw it.
I feel like I saw a picture of it on Twitter, but never in real life.
Yeah, I don't even think I saw it on Twitter. And I commend the Coinbase team for always doing like these splashy things, but then I'm like, I always kind of like miss the follow-up.
Dude,
I never actually see it.
I was going to say the same thing. I do love how Coinbase has like so much money that they're just like throw money at the wall, and then like every now and then they like try some super experimental crazy thing, and now it's Kobe's podcast and Echo. But yeah. It's funny to see.
Yeah. It'll also be interesting. Good.
I think it accumulates though. Like I think over time they are becoming the cooler institutional
for sure
platform, like over like, with Base added a lot to that. You can have different feelings about Base and Jesse personally, but like I think Base so on-chain summer, like people make fun of it, whatever, but I think there is a cumulative effect going on that you're starting to kind of like appreciate them as the more, like the more how do you do,
Coinbase does feel like they're leaning into like being crypto native, but also like a Wall Street type company, if that makes sense. Like they are following the rules, but they haven't lost like their touch of degen, which is cool.
I think everyone's trying to walk that line right now at that level. Like not everyone is at that level, and they're just like, yeah, whatever. But when you're in that 1%, you're like, okay, well, I guess we gotta figure out how to have our foot in both things.
Yeah.
God. And you know what's crazy is like my arthritis has been acting up. And so like I can't really like I'm old. I'm so old. And so Kale, I'm gonna need you to explain it like I'm 45. This PayPal minting fiasco, because my hands, they're just cramped. I can't Google it.
Dude, explain I'm the last person you want. I'm a conspiracy theorist. No, we won't go there. But so yeah, last week PayPal, or it's
God, you even have I'm sorry, I had to interrupt. You have a shirt with the were you preparing for the soapbox before I stole it from you? It's like you.
No, that's actually, I didn't realize. But yeah, no, I totally should have pulled that out.
Continue, please. I'm sorry.
So the $300 trillion mint. Okay, so this was insane. Because people keep saying PayPal did it, but it wasn't necessarily PayPal. PayPal works with a stablecoin issuer called Paxos, but they're like basically left arm and right arm. So technically like PayPal didn't do it, but like PayPal did it. So with that being said, a few days ago, PayPal and Paxos minted 300 trillion with a T, $1 trillion of their stablecoin, PayPal USD. And obviously people saw that and it immediately started panicking because it's like, first of all, like, I don't even know where to begin. No one's ever owned $300 trillion before. Like, was somebody with 300 trillion can like completely collapse the whole world economy. So like, of course, Twitter starts blowing up. They're like, what is PayPal doing with 300 trillion? Come to find out, these guys, they meant to send 300 million from one wallet to another, but they accidentally burned the 300 million. So they were like, we accidentally burned 300 million instead of sending it. Let's just remint 300 million. It's all going to be fine. But instead of reminting 300 million, they reminted 300 trillion. And yeah, so then they had to burn it, created a whole fiasco. And yeah, I don't know. It's kind of scary to see that they even have that power, you know, to mint trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars.
It is, I know, that's a right reserved by governments. I'd like the idea that they're like, how many zeros is in a million? I think it's like, nine. Nine, right?
Yeah, no, like, it's crazy.
Blew right by billion, went straight to trillion. Insane.
And like, you know what's confusing to me is that like, aren't these assets supposed to be backed by things? So like,
yes.
if the assets are supposed to be backed by real world assets, like how is that even a possibility to mint 300 trillion?
I think like, it's more
something's wrong.
Money than exists in the world. Isn't that what they said? Like 300 trillion is not even like, so you could not back it. Let's forget the dollar.
You could,
with anything.
Yeah, you got to back it with like the whole human population.
Well, as we've seen with FTX, which we've mentioned once before today, you don't have to back things up with anything. You could just say, oh yeah, we've got it. Don't worry about it.
True.
So yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's the gist. They minted $300 trillion, and how?
Yeah. I do think we're going to see a bit of fallout about this, you know, which also just kind of shows the fugazi that is stablecoins right now, where everyone's like, oh, we're going to do our own stablecoin, and you can kind of just issue it willy-nilly, and there's not a lot of compliance yet and a lot of like things backing it up. It's a lot of gray areas and dark rooms. Katya, talk to me about PayPal.
I mean, I kind of... So there's two factors here so there's the transparency that people could see this on Etherscan and immediately comment on this, right? Like it took them 20 minutes or something to like burn it, and then somebody was able to search for the 300 million mistake and trace it back. And the second thing is that it is like all money in the world is digital now, but this is so hyper digital that literally Vince, you were saying like, you know, maybe like they were like drinking their coffee and their hand slipped, and you know, like they added like 3 extra zeros or 6 extra zeros, and you know, there we go, and it went through. I don't know. I'm sure that like governments, the US government included, have done things that were just as stupid. We just didn't find out.
True.
Right away.
Great point. Because this wasn't on chain.
Cuban Missile Crisis has entered the chat.
I know, right? Like, I'm sure they have pressed buttons. It's just that the buttons didn't work so well and so quickly, and you couldn't see that they pressed the button transparently. And so I'm sure there have been like millions of moments that were like, oops, we almost just crashed the entire economy, or like, oops, we almost just bombed the world, like all the time, you know, but we just don't know about it. So that's your
Soviet coming out.
Yeah, like, but the thing is, yeah, like it is supposed to be backed. They all say it is backed. Some of them publish, you know, reports about like the backing of their. So if they did do this, then I think if it worked the way it's supposed to work, then PYUSD would just crash. It would go down to like a couple of cents, because like in relation to the backing, you know, like, or like, you know, fractions of cents, right?
Yeah, true.
And then you know, the stable coin would just crash, because if it is supposed to be backed, then like to the actual backing of the dollars divided by the new number of stable coins would just crash the stable coin. Or at least that's what should happen if it would work properly. But but just the possibility of I am not very impressed by people saying like, oh, that's because just like crypto's like smoke and mirrors. So are fiat currencies at this point. It's just that we don't know like how much stupid shit goes on behind, but yeah, there's a lot of room for chaos. That's true.
Yeah. And I think the main takeaway from both the AWS and the PayPal of it all is that there are a lot of people that are very bad at their jobs. But you know who's not bad at their job? You, dear listener. Because you listen to us. Because you hang out with us every week. And we appreciate that.
100%.
So thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Make sure you follow along with the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe on YouTube. Drop us a comment. All of our Twitters are below as well. Tell us what we got wrong. Tell Katya she's pretty. She likes it when people tell her she's pretty. And we'll see you in the next episode.
But
Bye.
Bye.